Welcome back. We are joined now by Representative Rich McCormick. He's a Republican from Georgia and member of the Armed Services Committee and also the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Representative, welcome back to the program.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
So yesterday, the vote on the budget bill was postponed. How would you have voted if that vote did take place?
Well, the way it was in the political climate, I would have voted no. We didn't have the votes for it, and we needed more reassurances on the cuts that we need to sustain our budget and our deficit reduction. I think we have a long ways to go yet, but I think today we're going to have some reassurances publicly from the Senate and from the presidency, and I hope that helps it move it forward.
What kind of reassurances are you looking for? Can you be more specific?
Yeah, that we can lock in the 1.5 trillion. That's the hard number. I know that when the Senate came out with their budget, they had $4 billion in cuts. That's just not satisfactory. I know that they said we can fix that in the reconciliation and rescission process, but I think we wanted more reassurances to make sure that we didn't get out of line from what we had originally intended.
And your views on the tariff, the Trump tariffs, as far as the reciprocal tariffs, and then the pausing of those reciprocal tariffs for 90 days?
Actually, I'm really pleased with the way the tariffs turned out so far. I had many concerns. I have constituents who basically have car dealerships that were going to have a really hard time with the tariffs from Germany. I had some that had built batteries in Vietnam and were bringing it over. They specifically avoided China because they knew that was a problem. And that 46% tariff there would have really crippled their business. Several other people with several other businesses in several other places, those didn't come to fruition for several reasons. First of all, to have 50 countries come to President Trump and say, let's go 0-0, to have the EU come and say 0-0, to have Japan, Israel, India, Vietnam, Cambodia, all kinds of nations coming and saying, let's make a deal. That's very beneficial to all of us, because when you get rid of tariffs, you have better free trade, more competition, it forces the price points down. Actually, it would be deflationary and help our economy simultaneously. So it was a bit of a game of chicken, but Trump definitely won that. As far as pausing all tariffs right now, I think that's a separate issue, but I think it had to do with the bond market, but also the fact that we have so many countries actually willing to make a deal right now. So I'm really excited about that.
Do you think that that would have happened had there not been that announcement that many economists were calling drastic as far as those initial tariffs being put in place?
No, I think really, if you think about, I saw the market's always going to react to all kinds of things. But the fact that it was already a done deal. The European Union had already come and said, let's do 0-0 tariffs. I mean, that's phenomenal to see the major players, all the major economies in the world other than China had already come to the table and say, yeah, let's make a deal. I think the hard work had already been done and we're on the right path. So I think it was a reaction basically to something else, and I think maybe just realizing that we have them in a very good place to make a deal with us and benefit the entire nation.
Audrey Fahlberg of the Conservative National Review said this about the conflicting messaging on tariffs. Quote, for several days, the White House has projected conflicting messages about the strategic endgame of the president's trade policy. Is it making tariffs permanent to fundamentally restructure the American economy, or using them as a negotiating tactic to bring tariffs down towards zero? The president has offered little clarity on the matter. Pressed on Monday whether the tariffs are permanent or negotiable, he said, quote, they can both be true. What do you think of that, Congressman? Do you think those tariffs should be permanent to restructure the economy fundamentally, the American economy, or is this a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'm one of those free market trade guys, so I hope they are permanent. I hope they are 0-0. I think that's what creates the greatest competition. I think the United States, when it's unhampered by unfair trade regulations, does quite well, and we've proven that over the amount of time that we've been a major economy. If you think about it, we have the largest economy by far. We're approaching $30 trillion in GDP. The next nearest is under 20, that's China, and then everybody else starts at about 5 trillion, which is Japan and Germany, and it goes down from there. So whatever we've been doing historically has worked, but I think we can even do better without the reciprocal tariffs that people, sorry, not even the reciprocal tariffs, the unfair tariffs that we've had placed on us historically. I think it's about time that we got to a fair trade point, and that's only going to benefit the United States. So I hope it does become permanent. I hope it is 0-0. I'm not real big on protectionist tariffs. I don't care if it's on steel or anything else like that, because I think it harms the climate. It encourages unions to force prices up, and it ultimately can put businesses in a very disadvantaged place.
If you'd like to join our conversation with Representative Richard McCormick, Republican of Georgia, you can do so. He'll be with us for about 20 minutes until the House gavels in. The numbers are Republicans, 202-748-8001, Democrats, 202-748-8000, and Independents, 202-748-8002. Congressman McCormick, I want to ask you about the SAVE Act. It's expected to come up for a vote today in the House, and that requires proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in a federal election. I take it you support that.
Absolutely. I don't see why anybody would want to vote in our elections if they're not citizens. I don't think they should vote in our elections if they're not citizens. I think the great majority of Americans believe that you should be a citizen to vote.
And that is already illegal to vote if you are not a citizen. The criticism of that bill, though, from the Democrats is that it is making it much harder for legal American citizens to vote. In other words, only about 50% of Americans have a passport. You would have to find your birth certificate. Your name would have to match. So married women would have to show additional documentation in order to vote if they've changed their name after marriage. What do you make of those criticisms?
Well, first of all, it's pretty easy to change your ID. It is extremely easy, especially in today's digital ID era. It doesn't take much. First of all, most people don't require any of those things. If you change your name through marriage, most people change it on their driver's license too. But if you didn't, all you have to do is bring in any form of ID. Any form of ID that you have, which you have. You have all those things you just mentioned. But the average person doesn't have to do that because the average person doesn't change their name. You can either change your name on your ID, your driver's license, or bring in another form. So it's pretty darn easy. I mean, everybody has a form of ID. Everybody has a birth certificate. Everybody has a passport that travels overseas. And if you don't have that, you had a driver's license, you have a birth certificate, you have so many different forms of government.
Well, but a driver's license
ID.
Would not be sufficient.
That's not true.
So you're saying that
if you have a driver's license that has your name on it, is absolutely sufficient.
Because that does not prove American citizenship, though. So you can have a green
card
right.
and have a. If you're correct. So that's not how it's going to work, though. No. So if you are not, you're supposed to have an ID that identifies you as as somebody who's a foreign national. You shouldn't have a driver's license that allows you to claim U.S. citizenship. There's supposed to be a special mark on your driver's license that designates you as not a citizen, and I think that's something that most states have.
I want to ask you, since you're a practicing medical doctor, you're also from Georgia, which is where the CDC is located, about cuts to the HHS and healthcare, the staffing at HHS, and also research funding, so federal research dollars going towards medical breakthroughs and biotech innovation.
Yeah, so it depends on which one you're talking about. I haven't seen the specifics yet. A lot of the details have not been hashed out. When you're talking about cuts done by bureaucracies, obviously we don't have purview over that. I'd like to see what the president's going to ultimately do, because sometimes they pause things and then they re-up it when they see the fallout on that. In other words, I saw it with the CDC. The CDC was pressuring us to hire over 200 new employees just for their viral area of research, and that was over COVID. I didn't think that was necessary. I told them it wasn't necessary. And I'm an ER doc, and actually my former attending is one of the senior members of the CDC. So we can have those debates all day long. If you're talking about cancer research and stuff like that, I think it's very important we continue to invest in things that will benefit all Americans. But we have to make sure that the right people are in the right place at the right time, especially given our budgetary concerns.
So NPR is reporting here, the headline is, on top of layoffs, HHS is ordered to cut 35% of spending on contracts. Are you comfortable with that, Congressman?
Depends on which contracts. I haven't seen all the contracts.